Hey, greetings, everyone. Lieutenant Colonel Alan West, Senior Fellow at the Media Research Center. I want to wish you all a happy new year, and hopefully, this first full week of 2019 is off to a great start for you. Last week, Thursday, we saw a start to a new Congress, the 116th Congress. And in the 116th Congress, we have the House majority leaning toward the Democrat Party. And without a doubt, what we are seeing from this Democrat Party majority already early on is really a lean toward progressive socialist policies. We talk about wealth redistribution, nationalizing economic production, expansion of a welfare nanny state dependency, and also social egalitarianism. And so when we look at what they stand for in this House of Representatives that is having Speaker Nancy Pelosi at its helm, I think there's an important question we have to ask ourselves. What is the future of liberty in the United States of America? See, when I listen to some of the leading voices, it appears here in the Democrat Party, we just recently know that Congresswoman Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez believes that we should make the top marginal tax rate in the United States of America some 70%. Then you also have the former mayor of San Antonio, also the head of the Housing and Urban Development under the Obama administration, Julian Castro, who is also a potential presidential candidate for the Democrats, saying that maybe that top level should be at 90%. Now think about this. The top 1% in the United States of America of wage earners already pay close to 40% of income taxes, individual income taxes. The top 10% of wage earners in the United States of America pay close to 70% of all federal income taxes. What happens to economic liberty if you have people that decide 70, maybe 90% of what you earn should be taken away from you and redistributed for, well, their own ideological agenda to once again make sure that they are providing stuff that is quote unquote free, but it is not free because you're redistributing it, taking it from some and giving it to others. You know, if you look south of us, there was a country that was once the most prosperous nation in South America. That country was Venezuela. A person by the name of Hugo Chavez came to power in that country and talked about, well, doing things for free for folks, but it all centered around wealth redistribution. And now all of a sudden, a country that was one of the most prosperous in Latin America now has people that are eating out of garbage cans.
As she digs in a trash bag left on the curb in search of food. She hopes to find something, a little leftover piece of bread, maybe some vegetables.
Now, how does that happen? Because of progressive socialism. See, progressive socialism is also being, touted as the reason why we should have Medicare for all.
Healthcare for all.
Yes, look up HR 676, House Resolution 676, which is the legislation for Medicare for all. But one of the things in that legislation is that, well, private health insurance becomes completely illegal. In other words, you don't have the liberty, you don't have the freedom to decide your own healthcare decisions. Everything has to go through the government. And think about that when you consider what happened to Alfie Evans and Charlie Gard over in the National Healthcare System of England. Two little babies who bureaucrats decided whether they should live or die, not the parents. Do we really want to have a Medicare for all system where the government is in control? I will tell you that when you look at the Veterans Administration system here in the United States of America, I don't know if we want to turn the entire healthcare system over to the progressive socialists, who now seem to be in control of the House of Representatives. So what is that future for liberty in the United States of America? See, it's interesting because I once believed, and I still believe, that liberty is all about the equality of opportunity. It says a kid like myself, born and raised in the inner city of Atlanta, Georgia, my dad was just a corporal in World War II. And guess what? His son got to be a lieutenant colonel and command an artillery battalion in combat. His son got to be a member of the House of Representatives. That's all about equality of opportunity. That says no matter where you're born, no matter where you come from, here in America, you have the opportunity. You have the individual liberty to be able to succeed however you wish. Now, of course, there is always a safety net, but the safety net should never be a hammock. But for the socialists of the left, they don't believe in equality of opportunity. They believe in equality of outcomes, that they should be the ones determining. That's why you consistently hear about, well, everyone has a right to own a home and everyone should have free health care and free college education. because they believe that they should determine those outcomes. And you know, there was a young Frenchman who came to visit the United States of America. He wrote a book called Democracy in America. His name was Alexis de Tocqueville. And this is what he said in the mid-1800s about equality. He said that democracy and socialism have nothing in common but one word, equality. But notice the difference. While democracy seeks equality and liberty, socialism seeks equality and restraint and servitude. What socialism seeks restraint in is the restraining of the individual and their desires and aspirations, their pursuit of happiness. What they believe is that everyone is part of a greater collective and there is a guarantee of happiness which they will provide the equality of outcomes for. Margaret Thatcher once talked about how the inherent problem with socialism is that you eventually run out of other people's money. So why go out and produce if you know someone else is going to take it from you? As a matter of fact, there was a Scottish political philosopher by the name of Alexander Fraser Tytler, who had this quote, which was attributed to him. And he came up with something that is known as the Tytler cycle. His quote goes, "A democracy cannot exist as a permanent form of government. It can only exist until the voters discover that they can vote themselves largesse from the public treasury. From that moment on, the majority always votes for the candidates promising the most benefits from the public treasury, with the result that the democracy always collapses over loose fiscal policy, always followed by a dictatorship. The average age of the world's greatest civilizations has been 200 years. These nations have progressed through this sequence, from bondage to spiritual faith, from spiritual faith to great courage, from courage to liberty, from liberty to abundance, from abundance to selfishness, from selfishness to apathy, from apathy to dependence, from dependence back into bondage." See, if we want to talk about the future of liberty in the United States of America, we've got to restore the can-do attitude, that spirit, that entrepreneurial desire and drive and determination that made America the greatest nation the world has ever known in, well, about 242 years. See, if we are to sustain liberty in the United States of America, we must first come to understand what liberty, what true liberty is. President Abraham Lincoln gave us a great definition of that. Abraham Lincoln said the world has never had a good definition of the word liberty. And the American people just now are much in want of one. We all declare for liberty, but in using the same word do not all mean the same thing. With some, the word liberty may mean for each man to do as he pleases with himself and the product of his labor, while with others, the same word may mean for some men to do as they please with other men and the product of other men's labor. Here are two not only different but incompatible things called by the same name, liberty. And it follows that each of the things is by the respective parties called by two different and incompatible names, liberty and tyranny. There's a line that's being drawn in the United States of America. You have to make the decision. Do you stand for liberty or will you succumb to tyranny? The future of liberty in the United States of America is all about us understanding that difference.